Have you ever wondered why some people seem to carry a greater burden than others? Why do some face pain that would be enough to destroy anyone and yet still remain standing? Is there something different about them? Or is there a hidden purpose behind suffering? The answer may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. Yes, some people are chosen to face battles that most would never endure. But being chosen is neither a gift nor a curse. It's a calling. A path that requires going through hell to find meaning where before there was only pain. Those who are chosen are not born knowing what they are. They discover this through suffering, through rejection, through loneliness. They are those who have been stripped of everything, those whose voices have been silenced, those who, at some point, believed they were alone. But there is a secret that few know. When life tries to erase them, they are reborn stronger than ever. Be part of our spiritual family. Subscribe to the channel today and comment "I believe" below as a symbol that you accept your role in this great transition. Let your energy be counted among the chosen. The time is now. The invisible attack. The cruelest pain is not the one that leaves visible marks. It's not the shouting, the blows, or the direct confrontations. The worst pain is the one that whispers in the darkness, that eats away at you, that makes you doubt your own existence. The one that turns a human being into a shadow of himself. It's not just about physical or emotional suffering. The true goal of those who tried to destroy you was never just to cause pain. They wanted something bigger, to steal your humanity. They wanted you to see yourself as less, as unworthy, as a mistake that should be erased. True cruelty is not hurting, it's erasing. And maybe it worked, for a while. You felt invisible. He felt like his story didn't matter, that your voice was an echo lost in the void. But then something happened. One day, among the rubble of who you used to be, a spark shined, small, fragile, almost imperceptible. But it was there, evidence that despite everything, something inside you still resisted, a fragment that refused to be erased. It was at that moment that you realized they tried to erase you, but they failed. They destroyed you, but you were reborn. And that is the truth that scares them the most. The fear they won't admit. Those who tried to break you never expected you to come back. They wanted their light to go out, not shine brighter. Because when you rise again, when you rise even after being crushed, something happens. You become a mirror. And there is nothing more terrifying for those who live in the illusion of control than looking in the mirror and seeing their own weakness reflected. They were never strong. They were never invincible. On the contrary, they were always afraid. But instead of facing their own demons, they chose to project them onto you. And for a while, they succeeded. They threw your insecurities on your shoulders, made you carry the weight that was theirs. But now, when they see that you survived, they realize the truth they always tried to avoid. Your strength is real, theirs never was. And it destroys them inside. The reconstruction, now that you are here, that you have survived what seemed impossible, comes the most important question. What to do with this remaining strength? How to transform pain into purpose, suffering into meaning, scars into power? There is no single answer because each path is different, but there is one certainty: the choice is now yours. You can allow the pain to be just a dark memory, a burden you carry forever, or you can use it as fuel to build something new, something that no one can take away from you. True revenge is not returning pain to those who hurt you. It's showing that despite everything, you continue. Because in the end, being chosen does not mean being a victim. It means being the one who is reborn when everyone expected there to be nothing left. It means being living proof that light always finds a way through the darkness. And that's the part of the story they never got to write. Your journey is just beginning. It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. Subscribe to the channel and be part of this community that is awakening to the truth. Dehumanization and suffering. The annihilation of identity. Human history is full of moments when individuals or entire groups were stripped of their identity. From ancient times to the present day, dehumanization has been a tool used by oppressors to annihilate not only bodies, but also spirits. The annihilation of identity does not happen overnight. It is a cruel and gradual process made up of small cracks that, over time, try to reduce someone to a state of non-existence. But what does it actually mean to be dehumanized? And why does this happen? The mechanics of dehumanization. Dehumanization happens when someone is treated as inferior, as a being unworthy of respect, dignity, or rights. Historically, this process was present in events that marked the world: transatlantic slavery, 15th to 19th centuries, Nazi concentration camps, 1933-1945, and modern genocides, such as the one that occurred in Rwanda in 1994. In each of these moments, a group was reduced to something less than human. This does not only occur in scenarios of war or political oppression. Dehumanization can happen silently in homes, schools, and work environments. When someone is isolated, silenced, ridiculed, convinced that their pain doesn't matter, they are going through a subtle and destructive process of losing their identity. Those who suffer this type of annihilation begin to question their existence. They look in the mirror and no longer recognize who they are. They feel like shadows, fragments of what they once were. This is the true objective of those who oppress: to ensure that the victim does not need to be physically imprisoned, as they will already be imprisoned within their own mind. The psychological impact of loss of identity. Human beings build their identity through interaction with the world. From the first years of life, we are shaped by our relationships, the experiences we live, and the meaning we give to them. When this construction is sabotaged, the mind collapses. Studies show that victims of dehumanization present symptoms that go beyond emotional pain. Impact may include post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, affecting around 8% of the world's population, according to the World Health Organization. Feeling of unreality, where the victim feels disconnected from their own life. Self-sabotage and destruction of self-esteem, leading to an inability to see a future. This is a direct result of the attempt to annihilate identity. Suffering is not just physical or psychological, but existential. Those who suffer ask themselves, "Am I still me?" Dehumanization. In modern society, we live in a digital age where technology connects us more than ever, but paradoxically makes us easy targets for new forms of dehumanization. Cyberbullying, for example, exposes millions of people to public humiliation, creating a devastating effect on victims' self-image and identity. Isolation is also a form of dehumanization. Studies indicate that prolonged loneliness can have an effect similar to that of physical trauma. This occurs because the human brain interprets social exclusion as a real threat, activating the same neurological mechanisms as physical pain. Furthermore, cancel culture, which has gained momentum in the last decade, often turns individuals into targets of massive attacks. The problem is not accountability for mistakes, but the complete erasure of someone's identity, as if a single failure defined their entire existence. The path of resistance. But not every story of dehumanization ends in total destruction. History shows us that there are those who, even in the face of attempted erasure, resisted and rebuilt their identities. Survivors of oppressive regimes, victims of systematic abuse, people who were reduced to silence for years, many of them have emerged stronger, transforming their pain into power. And this is what separates the chosen ones from the rest. It is not the suffering itself, but the ability to look at it and say, it doesn't define me. Resisting dehumanization is not just surviving. It's about recovering your own voice. It's about reconnecting with what they tried to erase. It is understanding that even when identity is fragmented, there is always a way back. You are still here. If you have ever felt like your identity has been taken from you, your voice has been silenced, or your existence has been reduced to nothingness, know this. You are still here, and that is the greatest testimony to His strength. Those who try to destroy others do so because they cannot bear to look inside themselves. But there is something they never understood. Even in an attempt to extinguish someone, it is possible to rekindle a flame. Being chosen is not about never falling. It's about always finding a way to get up. And as long as there is a spark of who you are within you, there is hope. There is a future, there is life. It's time to regain your strength and build a new path. If this video is making sense to you, don't stop here. Click subscribe now and discover the next step towards your transformation. Resilience and survival. The human spirit as something unbreakable. Why do some people, even after experiencing the darkest moments of their lives, find the strength to move on? What makes them different? Is there a limit to human endurance? The answer lies in a fundamental concept: resilience. This term not only refers to the ability to withstand adversity, but also to rebuild yourself after the collapse, transform pain into learning, and continue despite the scars. Resilience is not just surviving, but being reborn. What is resilience? Resilience is a psychological phenomenon that allows individuals to face extreme challenges without losing their essence. This concept has been widely studied in psychology and social sciences, and research shows that resilient people have three main characteristics. Acceptance of reality. They recognize the pain and difficulty of the situation without denying or minimizing it. Strong sense of purpose. They see greater meaning in their experiences, using them as fuel for their personal growth. Adaptability. They can find new paths to follow, even when everything seems to fall apart. The resilience does not mean absence of suffering. Quite the opposite. Resilient individuals feel pain, face sadness, and often question their own strength. However, they refuse to remain in the role of victim, transforming your pain into motivation to move forward. Historical examples of resilience. Throughout history, countless individuals have demonstrated extraordinary resilience, overcoming challenges that seemed insurmountable. Among the most striking examples, the following stand out. Viktor Frankl, 1905-1997, Austrian psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps. In your book, In Search of Meaning, he describes how he found the strength to endure the horror of war while assign meaning to suffering. Malala Yousafzai, 1997-present, survived a Taliban attack and turned her experience into a global mission to educate girls around the world. Nelson Mandela, 1918-2013. He spent 27 years in prison, but never lost hope in a better future for his country. When freed, he chose reconciliation over revenge, showing that the human spirit can overcome even the most brutal of oppressions. These stories prove that resilience does not depend on the absence of pain, but on the decision to move forward despite it. The impact of resilience on human survival. Neuroscientific studies indicate that resilience is linked to how the brain responds to stress. People who face difficulties without giving in to despair demonstrate a greater activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logical reasoning and emotional control. This means that even in extreme situations, the brain can find ways to reorganize and strengthen itself. Furthermore, Resilience also has a direct impact on physical health. Research shows that resilient individuals feature lower cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are less prone to cardiovascular disease, have longer life expectancy as they face challenges with less emotional exhaustion. Therefore, being resilient not only strengthens the mind, but also the body, creating a positive cycle of survival and growth. The path to developing resilience. No one is born resilient. This is a skill that is built throughout life, especially after situations of adversity. Some key steps to strengthening this capacity include self-knowledge. Understanding your emotions and recognizing your limits is essential to developing mental resilience. Support network. Having people around who offer emotional support helps you face challenges without feeling isolated. Adapting to the new, learning to accept changes and find alternative solutions in the face of obstacles strengthens the ability to deal with future difficulties. Purpose. Seeing a greater meaning in your own existence allows you to transform pain into learning and evolution. Resilience does not mean that suffering will disappear, but rather that it can be used as a springboard for growth. Those who develop this skill not only survive hardships, but become stronger than they were before. You are stronger than you think. The biggest lie ever told about pain is that it defines who we are. Suffering can shape our trajectory, but it never determines our destiny. Every person who has ever gone through moments of extreme difficulty and got back up again is living proof that the human spirit is unbreakable. No matter what they tried to take from you, what was destroyed, or what you lost along the way, as long as there is a spark inside you, the possibility of starting over will always exist. Being resilient does not mean not suffering. Means refuse to be defined by suffering. It means looking at the scars and seeing in them marks of strength, not weakness. True survival is not just about keeping breathing, but about finding new reasons to live. And the greatest strength of all is knowing that no matter how many times you fall, you can always get up again. Share this knowledge with the world. Together, we can spread this message and help more people become free. Subscribe to the channel and send this video to anyone who needs to hear this truth. Triumph over oppressors. The survivor overcome their childers. The greatest revenge against those who tried to destroy you is neither hatred nor retaliation. It's your survival. Nothing scares an oppressor more than seeing the person he tried to erase continue to exist, grow, and prosper. The true triumph is not in returning the pain that was imposed on you, but in becoming steadfast in the face of it. The oppressor's mentality. Why do they want you to fall? Those who oppress seek only one thing, power. But the real reason behind this desire is not strength, but fear. The fear of being small, irrelevant, powerless. Instead of facing their own weaknesses, they choose to project them onto someone who seems more vulnerable. They try to crush those they see as a threat, because deep down, they know they could never be as strong as their victims. When they tried to destroy you, it wasn't just out of contempt or unreasonable cruelty. It was because their resilience exposed their fragility. They wanted to see him defeated because they couldn't bear to see him win. But that's exactly why continuing is the greatest form of victory. Overcoming as an answer. Overcoming doesn't just mean moving forward, means rebuild yourself stronger than before. It means showing that everything they did to turn off their light was in vain. Overcoming is a process that occurs in three main stages. Pain recognition. The first step to winning is accepting that the pain existed. Pretending nothing happened doesn't make anyone stronger. What is empowering is recognizing what was lost and deciding that this will not be the end of the journey. Narrative transformation. Oppressors want you to see yourself as a victim, as someone weak. But your story can be rewritten. You are not just someone who has suffered, but someone who has overcome. Action and evolution. True triumph happens when you use your experience to evolve. When, instead of carrying the weight of what was done to you, you transform it into strength. Examples of triumph over oppression. History is full of individuals who refused to be crushed by those who sought to destroy them. People who not only survived, but grew from their painful experiences. Among the most inspiring examples, we can mention Harriet Tubman, 1822–1913, born into slavery. She escaped and became one of the leaders of the abolitionist movement in the United States, helping hundreds of people gain their freedom. Frederick Douglass, 1818–1895. Also formerly enslaved, he learned to read and write in secret and became one of the greatest intellectuals and activists of his time. Mahatma Gandhi, 1869–1948, used peaceful resistance to free India from British rule, proving that force does not need to be violent to be transformative. These examples demonstrate that those who have been persecuted can become agents of change. Triumph over oppressors does not happen on the battlefield, but in the ability to transform suffering into personal and social revolution. True justice. There is no greater punishment for an oppressor than to see that his victim not only survived, but flourished. True justice is not revenge, but growth. It is to prove that every attempt at destruction was in vain. It's looking back and realizing that every blow, every betrayal, every attempt at silencing only made you stronger. Your existence is victory. If you are still here, if you continue to resist, then you have already won. Because those who tried to destroy you expected you to give up. They expected their voice to be silenced, for their glow to fade. But you are here. You breathe, you move forward, and that, more than anything else, is the greatest triumph of all. To not miss any message from God, click the subscribe button, write "I'm ready" in the comments, and start aligning your energy with the transformation that is coming. Mirror of society, reflecting what the world doesn't want to see. Since the dawn of humanity, certain people have been forced to carry a greater burden than others. They not only live their own battles, but they also become a reflection of what society tries to hide. These people are not just survivors, they are mirrors, exposing uncomfortable truths that many would prefer to ignore. But why does this happen? Why do some individuals seem to cause discomfort just by existing? The answer lies in human nature. It is easier to pretend that a problem does not exist than to face it head-on. When someone represents a painful truth, they become a mirror for those who avoid confronting their own flaws. And since many people are not prepared to see their own darkness, they attack the mirror instead of facing their reflection. Society and the rejection of the mirror society builds masks to hide its imperfections. She clings to norms, beliefs, and standards that maintain the illusion of control. However, when someone challenges this structure, whether through their resilience, authenticity, or simply existing differently, they become a problem. History is full of figures who were persecuted for representing something that society did not want to admit. Galileo Galilei, 1564–1642, condemned for stating that the earth revolved around the sun, a truth that challenged the dogma of the time. Martin Luther King Jr., 1929–1968, a mirror of racial inequality in the United States, awakening both hope and hatred. Joanna d'Arc, 1412–1431. She led armies and defied gender conventions, being burned alive for representing something that could not be accepted at the time. These people were not hated for what they did, but for what they represented. They forced the world to look at its own contradictions and therefore faced resistance, hostility, and persecution. Why do the chosen cause trouble? When someone refuses to go with the flow and insists on living their truth, they challenge collective mediocrity. Often those who live off appearances feel threatened by those who have the courage to be authentic. This is because they reveal the hypocrisy of others. People who hide behind masks do not want to be unmasked. They challenge comfortable beliefs. Uncomfortable truths demand change, and change generates fear. They prove that it is possible to be different and still exist, something that many cannot accept. The weight of being a mirror. Being someone who reflects the truth to the world is not a choice, but a consequence of one's own essence. This can lead to isolation, rejection, and even gratuitous hatred. The burden of carrying a truth that few want to hear can be exhausting, but it can also be transformative. However, there is something that needs to be understood. Mirrors do not exist to be accepted. They exist to reveal. And those who have the courage to continue being a reflection, even in the face of adversity, are those who truly change the world. Being the mirror is a purpose. If you've ever felt like your mere existence bothers those around you, maybe it's not because there's something wrong with you. Maybe it's because you reflect something they try to avoid. The chosen are not those who live to please. They are those who challenge, who ask difficult questions, who force the world to look at itself without filters. And as much as this can be a burden, it is also a gift, because in the end, the truth always finds a way to be seen, and the mirror never stops reflecting. If you feel this calling within you, subscribe to the channel and write "I am chosen" in the comments. Declare that you are ready to receive what is already in store for you. The truth that nobody can erase. Those who tried to silence him believed they could erase his story. They thought his pain would break him, that the weight of injustice would make him give up. But they were wrong. You survived. And more than that, you rose. Not as the victim they expected, but as someone who refused to be defined by suffering. The truth is that every battle you've faced has shaped something within you. It didn't take away your strength. It didn't erase your essence. It just revealed what was always there: resistance, courage, purpose. The world belongs to those who refuse to disappear. The greatest proof of victory is not revenge, but continuity. Every day that you move forward, you prove that nothing has been able to erase you. And this is the reality that most frightens those who tried to destroy it. Because in the end, being chosen does not mean being at the mercy of others. It means writing your own story. The answer you were looking for is here. If this video made sense to you, don't stop here. There is so much more to learn and grow. Click subscribe now and discover the next step towards your transformation.